Ayubowan. May the most noble triple gem bless you. Dhammo have rakkati dhammachari. The one who lives by the Dhamma is well protected by the Dhamma. Warmly welcome to Dhamma Hadaya, your Monday's Dhamma discussion through the Pioneer Buddhist channel of Sri Lanka, the Buddhist TV. So as usual, we have a very interesting and a fruitful discussion of Dhamma with a resource person. Well, today's resource person is, of course, he is known to you, but I'm sure there are lots of viewers with us today who have just joined us in watching Dhamma Hadaya, the English Dhamma discussion. And to those viewers, I would like to introduce him. He is none other than Professor Wasantha Gunathunga of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, and he is also a meditator. Now, for today's theme, I would just say, now since I mentioned of the Dhamma, that the Dhamma protects the one who lives by the Dhamma, the intention of our program, the intention of Dhamma Hadaya, Dhamma discussion is to get you to practice Dhamma. It is an approach, as I usually say, to practical Buddhism. Now, sir, in this exercise of, of this approach towards practical Buddhism, now, in Buddhism, sir, we talk a lot about happiness. And, through, through the stanzas of the Dhammapada and also in Buddha's teachings, we see that he talks a lot about happiness. And throughout our life, we experience all sorts of happiness, but these are not permanent, what we experience. So if I ask you, while welcoming you to Dhamma Hadaya after quite a long time, if I ask you, how can one be permanently happy?
Yeah, I think you asked the core question first. That's excellent. Because everybody is looking for happiness. Now, if we look at ourselves, everybody, we look for happiness and contentment, and we do a lot of things for that. We do a good job, and we raise our children, and we look at them progressing, and we have a lot of hobbies, and all these we look for happiness. But ultimately, how many of us are happy permanently throughout is a question. You can look at yourself, your family, your mates in the working place and ask them and discuss, or you see for yourself, how many of them are happy every day. You can be happy one day, but next day you are a little down. So everybody is looking for happiness, but this is kind of elusive to a lot of people. Now, the Buddha found an answer to this. And what is the answer? That is what people want, to be happy every day, every minute, today, tomorrow, next year, every day. So, if we can be happy every day, every moment, and then that is what we are looking for. But the problem is, where we look for happiness is the problem. Ordinary people, they think happiness is in their five sense organs, sense pleasures. They see things, they view TV, cartoons, teledramas, other sports programs, and they listen to music, and then they go for different restaurants for meals. Like that, they try to enjoy the five sense organs, and through that enjoyment, they try to get happiness. But the problem with this happiness is, you have a good meal today, but tomorrow you have a little humble meal at home. You are not all that happy with that. So tomorrow you are a bit down. So you have to go for a better restaurant. So you need money for that, but ultimately this is a never-ending chase.
And I think when you talked about money, sir, like most of us tend to think that if we have a lot of money, we'll be happy.
Yes, money, money is the one that makes people most unhappy. More you have, worse you are. Of course, you need to have some amount of money for you to have a reasonable life, but beyond that is really a problem. Now, that is also you can do your own research and find out what are you going to do right now, what are you doing with the extra money. If you have any extra money, I think a lot of people are having a little extra money. We have a plan for that money, various plans. A multimillionaire will have multimillionaire kind of plans. A man who is on the street and earning daily wages, or man who is asking money from others, kind of begging, and he has his own little plans for the money that he has, or little broader plan than what he is having. So everybody is having a plan bigger than the money that he is having. So this is the problem. Now it is not directly related to the amount of money that one is having, but everybody is aiming at something more than what he is having. So this is the problem with money. But without money, with a little bit of money, you can have a happy, comfortable life, and getting that is not that difficult. But even then, that is not permanent. We have seen a lot of people who are quite happy in their lives. They are living a reasonably good life and they don't have major problems. Some of them claim that they don't have to do anything, they are happy. Some of them are quite well behaved, good people. Is that the happiness that we want? And that is the happiness, again, through enjoying the sense pleasure, but to a moderate level they manage that. But they have to wait till a real challenge comes. Now, we get challenges every day. Now a person who is happy for say few decades in the life suddenly get a challenge of unexpected nature, and then that is his breaking point. And
maybe a bad news,
of course, news of death of a very close relative, or a major illness like a stroke or a cancer. People are not geared for those things, though they are happy. They are not prepared. They are not prepared. They have not faced the real challenge as yet. So then only that is the test, the real test. And if one is able to handle that, that is a major thing. But again, whether it is the permanent happiness is the question. So it is not the permanent happiness. The problem is a lot of people, 99% of people, those who think they are very happy, break down at one point. They might recover, but they are vulnerable again. So this is the problem. We need to get out of that vulnerability. How do we do that? That is where the Lord Buddha comes, and that is what he saw. Then he, as a lay person, a prince of having a lot of money, wealth, political power, had everything in mundane life, but he realized that this is not the way to get permanent happiness. So ultimately he went in search of happiness and found it. Now we'll discuss a little bit about this science of this happiness.
Please,
it is like this. We need to look at ourselves. Like last time, I invite the viewers to close your eyes for 5 seconds, not much, just 5 seconds with me. Okay. Now, each one of you just try to recollect what was in your mind within these 5 seconds. Now, I have given this test to a lot of audiences, and I can tell you what they told me. Some of them thought of their home. Some of them just heard the road noise, and some of them were thinking about the backache they had when they were sitting. So these 3 thoughts are from 3 different sources. One is from outside, from the road. Other one is from our own memory. We are thinking of our home and we are not at home, and it was in our memory, our home, our children, our lands, everything is in our consciousness stored as a memory. So from that memory various thoughts pop up into the mind. That is the second one. Third one is our own physical body, and we get inputs from the physical body. So we have 3 major worlds from which we get thoughts. Now the problem here is no one in the ordinary life is able to stop thoughts popping up from these 3 sources.
Yes.
And these 3 sources almost always give little worry, more worries at times, and happiness at times, but very often if you really weigh the level of happiness of those thoughts, most of them are worrying thoughts, worrying about exams or land dispute or about paying back a loan, problem of spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or illness of a child.
Sure.
All very often. So these are the 3 worlds from which we get happiness. We are unable to stop it, and we keep going thinking of these things. So we are eternally having a problem. And even if it is a happy thought, sometimes we have a good time in the workplace or somewhere, classroom, or having a chat and shouting and laughing, and we come to a lecture or classroom, and suddenly somebody burst in laughter inside the classroom when the teacher was teaching, and then that was happy, but it came up in the wrong time, in the wrong place. So this is how happiness bothers people, and not only in the classroom, when you work, even if it is a happy thought, when it is coming repeatedly, it hampers your work. So that is how happiness bothers people. So answer is very clear. Answer is getting the skill of stopping these thoughts coming into the mind and being able to keep the mind away from these 3 worlds. And then finally, if you achieve the final stage, you become above the 3 worlds. And the word you use is Lokottara, and this supramundane. And this term he used to describe Lord Buddha.
Yes.
So you can reach up to that level if you get the skill of doing that. And then what the Buddha taught was how to do it. So there's a way to get permanent happiness. With that happiness, that is not only happiness, that is the most important thing. With the happiness, you have this other package, things in the package. You get the wisdom of seeing through things without prejudice. Now our problem is, in ordinary people, every time we look at something with some amount of prejudice, bias towards us. I will give you an example. You look at 5 TV channels, how they report the same incident.
Yes, in different ways.
Exactly, different ways, and you get 5 different stories from the 5 different channels. How did that happen? It happened, a cameraman and a reporter goes to the incident, and he records what he thinks is important in that incident, and he is biased towards what he thinks is important. The second cameraman goes, he records what he thinks is important, and third, fourth and fifth, so on. So they see 5 different angles in the same incident, and then that is brought to the station. Then the editor looks at it and he thinks a slightly different thing, and he cuts and chops, and then he creates a story. Of course, that is an art itself, and that is the way that is done. We are not finding fault with anybody for doing that.
That's, I suppose, human nature.
Human nature.
Yes.
And human nature is the basic problem.
Plus media nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, no fault of anybody. and you get 5 different stories. And then that is how things happen when ordinary people work. It happens through bias all the time. So you will never ever find the truth. Nobody, even the person who sees the incident with their own eyes, will see what they want to see in the incident, not the real truth. So you will never ever get the truth, because what you see and hear are biased. So because of that, you need to rethink how much of information in this way that you keep with you, and then all that is in the consciousness are information collected in the same way. So you are working on a database that is not entirely true. So your entire behavior is commanded by false information.
Definitely. Well, sir, yeah, were you trying to say something
Go ahead.
else? Yes. Well, sir, when we talked so much about happiness and happy people, I remember one day, like, I did a little bit of Google search, the happiest man on earth, and here I found out it's a monk, it's a Buddhist monk. Well, I don't know, like, I'm sure there are like other people who have not gone through the test. Like, of course, he has been accredited as the happiest man on earth, and it's a European. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. He's called the happiest man on earth, and they say like he doesn't have anything, of course, being a Buddhist monk. And so there was this description about him. I thought I would add.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are other happy people, maybe people who have not, just come out and gone through an experiment to see whether they are happy or not. So this is just one example, one simple monk who doesn't have anything on his own.
Yeah.
Yes, so moving towards the next question, I thought, now we talked about happiness, and you just happened to say it's because we do have a database of which is not consisting ultimately of correct facts. So if I just ask you something like, now with this database of ours, and now supposing like we are trying to be happy as much as we can, but in the end, what should be the goal? Like, what should be the ultimate purpose, or if I just put it that way, what should be the ultimate purpose of life, as you think?
Yeah, it's a good question to ask. Now, to find out what the ultimate purpose of life is, we'll look at what we are doing. We, first of all, we are born, then we are born because of what we wanted to come to a particular place. No, we had no intention of going to a particular place, because we actually had no idea where we were being born.
Yeah.
And then the parents wanted this particular person? No. So we were born. Of course, there's a way of explaining where you are born, how you are born, in what form you are born, and yes. Later probably we'll discuss that. So we are born, and then we are grown up. We go to school, and then some people like to go to school, others don't like to go to school, and you sometimes scared, when the teacher is kind of trying to tame you. So then you start working, and then you have your own children, and then you grow old, and you do your job as a citizen, and then grow old and ultimately die. And then when a lot of people die, they are scared of death, and they are scared to leave their loved ones. And then almost everybody, with few exceptions, people suffer at the end. And then you are born again and go through the same cycle. We'll stop at that and say, if some people difficult to fathom, that you are born again and die and born again. So even if we speak within this life, so we go through and we enjoy little happiness and we suffer a lot and then go on and on and on. Suddenly when we look back, we are 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 and can't walk also, and suddenly we die. And is that what we want? And certainly not. People don't want to die, and they don't want to grow old and be old men and women.
And they don't want to fall ill either.
They don't want to fall ill either. And but it happens. So now if you can stop dying, if you really want that, you can do that. Dying is, if we discuss a little bit what death is.
Please, why not?
Death we experience every moment. If you really look at your mind, we suddenly, if you close your eyes again, and what happens, you go home and suddenly you are back here, and home is far away and not to be seen. It's just a memory. If you lose that memory, nothing, you are just here, home is left, and you will never reach home if your memory is totally gone. And that happens every moment, but because you have a memory bank to get back to and think that you have this, and you think you are living